Okay, students, woo, we are close. Look at that. We've got our frame built, and what I want to do next is some of you guys, if you have any of these things where there's a little piece that's proud, we got to sand that down, and maybe I got a little bit more to do here. So I'm going to start by showing you the sanding on that, and we're going to work hard to get that pretty flat, and then luckily this one's already done. Nice and clean, doesn't have anything interrupting, but we need to sand the top one. And then after we sand that, I'll tell you again, I'll pop up on the screen, but then we're going to show you how to clamp these pieces down. Cool? Here we go. All right, students, so there we go. I've got it nice and sanded now, and I checked it by putting the top on there, and it sits nice and flat along all my side. Looks okay. Oh yeah, now that I have it there, just a little gap against there, but that looks good. Okay. So, let's check this out. How are we going to get that thing to stick down on there? And how are we going to make sure that it's equal side to side? Two very important questions. So, when you put your piece on, it kind of depends on, I'm going to turn it so you can hopefully see it a little better. Okay, so we want to be flush on the back. Okay. Flush on the back and have the overhang in the front. Then when you look at how to do it side to side, you're going to do what we always do. You're going to measure and make sure it's equal. Spacing should be about 1/2 inch on either side. So this needs to move over. Mine is looking a little bit more like 7/16, and I think that has to do with, so I was measuring, it's about 7/16 to the leg, and again over here, about 7/16 to the leg. Okay? So, when that's equal and flush with the back, you can take your pencil and just make a mark, a gentle mark on the back. Turn around again so you can kind of see it. So, it's even here and here, about 7/16. Just make a mark. There's one there too, and that'll let us know where to put it when we clamp it. Okay? So, how are we going to clamp this down though? It's going to be a little tricky, right? Well, hopefully you still kept your scrap wood, right? So you should have an extra piece that looks something like this. This one I cut an angle onto, but anyway, it should be long enough to slide under here. I've lined up my lines, mostly. Gotta shift that over a little bit. Okay? That's where it's gonna go. Now, the idea is we take this clamp, or this extra board, and we move it there. Now we're gonna take our clamp and test it without glue. Okay, this is flush there. I'm lined up on my lines. And we're going to look and see, yeah, it looks like there's some good connection points all the way around. It's very important that it's tight on, the surfaces where it's going to be glued to. So now that we know that that works, we are going to unclamp that, take this off, we're going to use our glue bottle. And we're going to apply glue right along the perimeter here. And I like to keep it closer to the inside so that if glue does squeeze out, it goes to the inside of the stool where you can't see it very well, and not squeezing out the front, although it won't be that noticeable either. You'll be able to sand the back and just spreading it out a bit so that it's more evenly spread. Quick visual on my glue application. Now we have to get that piece lined up again. And you want to try and get this pretty good right on the first drop so that it doesn't smear the glue. There we go. And flush it out here. Okay. Now, because there is glue, it's going to be a little bit more prone to sliding around when you put that clamp on it. But that's okay. We're going to take our clamp, get it up there. And we're using this extra board so that the clamping pressure is a little closer to center instead of just on the one side. Looks like we're in a good spot still. I'm going to go ahead and put all that pressure on there. Especially you want to check that your front is tight after you've applied that clamp. So you can see no gaps there. That glue is going to be holding this thing on there really nice. We have confidently glued down that top part of the stool. In fact, if I wanted to, I could lift it up from that part because the glue is so strong. Really good. If you're nervous about it, you can feel free to add some screws in there. No problem. But this can happen just with glue. I think it looks pretty nice. So that top step, not too hard, right? We can figure that out pretty easy. The glue, the clamp, but now to get the bottom step on, a little more complex, okay? Because we only have the one clamp, you can do one of two things. The very simple, easy way would be to just glue it and put a bunch of weight on it. If you have something really heavy, that would work, okay? If you don't have that, then you can try the method I'm about to do, and that is to measure and cut some wedges that will hold it down, okay? So I'm going to measure off of here 6 7/16 is the distance from there to there, okay? So I'm going to cut a block that's about 6.5 so that it's a little bigger and we can angle it and press it down so this gets good tension here. I'm going to cut that for this one. I'm going to check here on the back and see if it's the same. Yeah. And so I'll have one pressing down weight here on this board. I'm going to use a clamp for here, and then another one in the back. So 2 pressure fit things, and then a clamp in the front, and I think that should suffice for us today. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get my miter box. Use some of the scrap pieces of wood that you have available to you. Stuff that got left behind off your other pieces. I'm going to cut at 6.5. And 6.5. So here's how those wedges work. And as you can tell, I have my hands off of it. They're actually holding that down quite well. So I have one that goes across the seam because we're going to have our smaller board in the back and our bigger board in the front. So the seam should be pretty close to underneath this, which is where we're pressing down from. And then in the back, we have that wedge just coming down on the back side. Then we're going to utilize our clamp to press down the front. And I put my clamp over here because I noticed that this was a little bit more proud. This board was slightly twisted. So since I have pressure here holding this back edge down, this causes that edge to go down, and this is already, because of the twist that's in it, already pressed down. So you can double check, see how the whole front edge is now tight. That is good. Let me show you when I unclamp. See how the gap is more here than in this side? You want to look for that as well. And clamp closer to the side that has more of a gap. Okay, so this is how it's going to turn out. We're going to go as flush as we can on the back and try and keep it equal as it goes through once we get this set for the final time. Alright, let's kick these out. Alright, we'll let that sit up overnight.